A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. Glory to you, O Lord. After feeding the 5,000 with the loaves and fish, Jesus made his disciples get into the boat and go on ahead to the other side to Bethsaida, while he dismissed the crowd. After saying farewell to them, he went up on the mountain to pray. When evening came, the boat was out on the sea, and Jesus was alone on the land. When he saw that they were straining at the oars against the adverse wind, he came toward them early in the morning, walking on the sea. He intended to pass them by, but when they saw him walking on the sea, they thought it was a ghost and cried out, for they all saw him and were terrified. But immediately he spoke to them and said, "Take heart, it is I, do not be afraid." Then he got into the boat with them, and the wind ceased. And they were utterly astounded, for they did not understand about the loaves, but their hearts were hardened. The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. Today's Gospel tells us what happened immediately after Jesus fed the 5,000 men with the 5 loaves and 2 fish. It was already dark when Jesus and the disciples discussed how to feed the crowd. So today's episode must have occurred very late at night or very early in the morning, still dark. Jesus went up on the mountain to pray, but the disciples were on the lake struggling with the wind and waves. When Jesus walked on the waters to their boat, the disciples did not recognize him, but mistook him for a ghost. They were fearful. Even when Jesus calmed the wind, they were still in shock. And at the end of today's episode, St. Mark comments, "For they did not understand about the loaves, but their hearts were hardened." The darkness of that night and the wind and waves symbolize the darkness and confusion that dominated the disciples' minds and hearts. St. Mark calls this state being hardened. Somehow, their hardened minds and hearts prohibited them from accepting Jesus as the divine Son of God, even after they had witnessed the feeding of the 5,000 with the 5 loaves and 2 fish. We may feel it unbelievable to feed 5,000 men with a few loaves of bread. But wouldn't it be even stranger to be unable to recognize this miracle as a divine work? None of the disciples called Jesus Lord, the Messiah, or the Son of God. On the contrary, they exclaimed, "It is a ghost," as St. Matthew reports of the same episode in his Gospel. St. Mark does not tell us what made the disciples' hearts hardened. Probably different things blinded each disciple. They could have been worries about worldly things, greed, ambition, and so on. But when we are hardened of our hearts, we are closed to truth. Even when we witness facts before our eyes, we don't recognize what they are. Say Jesus is walking by you, but with a hardened heart, you won't see him. In this pandemic, I see many people take this epidemic as a crisis of or an opportunity for the economy, civil rights, or politics. But I doubt if they could provide any practical or effective solutions to this health and medical crisis. Hardened hearts keep us from truth, from earth, and truth from heaven as well.